Welcome to the Next Man Up, proactive DFS strategies based on inactive NFL players. I'm Mike Davis, the Q&A columnist at fftoday.com, and I'm joined by Matthew Schiff, the survivor pool expert, who was right to ignore me last week when I told him to diversify his player pool because he plugged a solid trio into all of his tickets. Matthew, you had multiple winning tournament tickets this week. What strategies and players paid off best for you?
Well, I got my triple play really paid off very well against Cleveland. I recommended, going with Prescott, going with Witten, and as well as going Ezekiel Elliott. That was an incredible triple play. I'm trying to duplicate that this week. I'm going to look at some double plays as well as a possible triple play in some of my tickets today.
Okay, cool. Last week, 3 of my 4 featured player recommendations were hits. One of them, running back DeJuan Harris, hit big with 142 total yards and a TD, and he was dirt cheap. My tight end recommendation, Kyle Rudolph, was a disappointment despite his TD catch because that TD catch was all he got. QB Aaron Rodgers and wide receiver Dante Moncrief both met but failed to exceed their recommendations, my expectations. I hope to go 4 for 4 with my featured players in Week 10, and here's a reminder of the 3 self-evident principles behind the selections. 1, it's better to operate with more information than less, so we go out of our way to let the latest injury news influence our lineups. 2, the backups who fill in for injured stars are often thrust into high-volume situations that aren't reflected in their pricing on DFS sites like Draftkings. And 3, for tournament play, plugging in no-name backups who may come out of nowhere is an easy and effective way to achieve differentiation from the crowd. For my first ticket, I want to focus on my running back selection of the week, and this is Devonta Freeman. Now, I know I'm going to let Matthew sell you on David Johnson, who is clearly the running back to have this week. But for this ticket, I faded Johnson. I went with Devonta Freeman largely because Tevin Coleman is still out, and the guy who stepped in for Coleman last week, Teron Ward, did not do much, just 30 yards and receptions. So I wanted to build at least a couple of tickets without David Johnson, although I agree with the crowd and with Matthew that he's the way to go this week. And so I ended up with Devonta Freeman and Jay Ajayi, who's I don't know, I'm on the fence about Ajayi. He's the only thing the Dolphins have going this week because all of their receivers are hurt. And by hurt, I mean they're either not playing or they seem to be decoys. The only healthy receiver they had last week was Devontae Parker, and I'm not sure he was healthy. He was active, but I think his hamstring prevented him from being effective, and I think that's probably going to be the case again. And so if there's no other offensive threat in Miami, the Dolphins have to use Ajayi, but at the same time, if there's no other offensive threat, then the defense just loads up to stop him. So you could maybe talk me out of that pick, and maybe I'd like to throw over my flex play to you, Matthew, Tyreek Hill. So why don't you talk about why you like Tyreek Hill this week? I like him too, and whether you want to talk me out of Ajayi.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I'll take your flex position because I think Tyreek Hill is defined. You've got a player that's worth about $3,500 on DraftKings this week who's going to be a key target for Nick Foles. I mean, he's taking the start instead of Alex Smith. It's a security blanket. I think you're going to see also Travis Kelce being a good play as well. But Hill, even when he wasn't a starter, was starting to step up. He had 5 or 6 targets each week. He should probably get 8 to 10 targets. That's probably worth 6 to 7 completions and probably 60 or 70 yards plus a touchdown. That's about 16 or 17 points. That's a lot more than a 9.2 average that he normally has. With regards to Ajayi, you make some great comments about his supporting cast. The supporting cast not being around, they're going to probably stack the line against him. He hasn't been a great running back when the defense knows he's coming, and that's the issue. There may not be enough of an offensive line to open up the holes for him this week. Does that mean you pull him out and put in somebody else? But it comes down to cost-benefit analysis. You're probably going to get a 12 to 15-point day out of him instead of an 18-point day. Just temper your expectations, and he's still a solid play.
Okay, so we'll leave him alone, and then you can help me tinker with my next ticket because I know I want to make a change in ticket number 2. My featured player here is my tight end. I kind of fooled Matthew. In my notes, said to him earlier this week, I told him I was going to focus on Will Tye of the Giants because of Victor Cruz being out. And I still think Will Tye is a good play. But I like Delaney Walker a lot this week because even though Green Bay's defense is highly rated, they're going to be missing both cornerback, one cornerback, and I'm blanking on the last name. Let me look that up.
For who?
For Green Bay, Demarius Randall. Demarius Randall has been out, and then this week he was healthy again for like a day. And they thought he was going to be back in, and they were optimistic. But no, he's out again. And safety Micah Hyde is doubtful. I think even if he plays, and I don't think he will, but even if he does, I don't think he'll be at 100%. So I am counting, contrary to a lot of people's expectations, on the Green Bay Packers secondary being exploited by Tennessee this week. And so I decided at the last minute to swap Delaney Walker in as my featured tight end because of injuries on the Green Bay defense. So that's who this ticket is built around. But you'll see I've made some choices here. I'll get to Tyrell Williams, a receiver, in my next ticket. I love him in San Diego for reasons that we'll cover. But I also have Melvin Gordon on the same ticket, and I don't want that. I don't want to bet on both Gordon and Williams having a big day in this ticket. So I want Matthew to talk me into a different approach. But I sort of like having Jay Cutler stacked with Tyrell Williams. So I guess I really want to cut Melvin Gordon. I'm sorry. I want to stack Jay Cutler with Alshon Jeffrey. I don't have the San Diego quarterback here. So, Matthew, what would you have me do with this ticket?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a lover of Delaney Walker. I happen to have him on my fantasy team. He's one of the few, A players I have that I don't have to just worry about at all. With regards to this week alone, okay, if I was to look at this specifically at the percentage targets in Tennessee, Delaney Walker himself, he's getting on an average basis about 20 to 25% of the passes are being sent to him his way. That's a big percentage. That's what you want to find in the way of a breakout player for a good value. If you think that the secondary is going to be suspect with Green Bay this week, especially based upon the injuries that you were talking about prior to our call, this is a defense that is ranked 11th overall and 16th against the pass. With their secondary out, you're probably talking about a 30th against the pass, and who's going to get a better chance? Probably Delaney Walker than anybody else. With regards to San Diego, I haven't really analyzed that game. That's my issue. I haven't found that was a game that was a spot-on game for me this week. I've been looking at other games that had better plays, but I'm not saying that Melvin Gordon hasn't been doing well.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw Gordon out. I don't know that.
I'm just giving you honest feedback on what I've done and what I haven't done.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know which running backs to get excited about except for the obvious high-price guys, and I'll get to Darren Sproles and why I like him a little later. I do like Darren Sproles a lot this week, and I've got him in a bunch of tickets, but I'm going to go ahead and throw him into another one here and see if that lets me upgrade. Jamison Crowder is sort of a flyer based on injuries in Washington. So if I go with Darren Sproles rather than Gordon, how much of an upgrade does that give me at receiver? So that was just a flyer. Okay. You're high on Fitzgerald this week.
Yeah, I am. I happen to like Fitzgerald because of Carson Palmer coming back. And the fact is, the last time against the same team, he had 2 touchdowns. I think that J.J. Nelson is going to be a nice play, but I'm questioning whether he'll really be a target or not. My overall play, Alshon Jeffrey is a great sneaky play against Tampa, especially for the value at 6,600. Sproles, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in that game. The problem is I'm not sure if it's the running back, though. I think Atlanta's going to give up more against the pass than they are against the run. And I say this specifically is when you look at Atlanta's defense, okay, and I'm pulling them up as we speak. The Atlanta defense is, oh God, the NFL can mess with you. When you click on one thing, it's supposed to be doing something else. The Atlanta defense is a better passing defense than a rushing defense. So you'd think they'd probably try to exploit the rush. But I think Carson Wentz is going to have a decent day against Atlanta.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm happier with this than it was. We may have a chance to get back to it, but I don't want to run out of time before we get to your lineups. So I'm going to move on to my third featured player of the week, and that is Tyrell Williams in San Diego, in large part because Travis Benjamin is injured this week, and Antonio Gates has also been hobbled in practice. Of course, it could be the Melvin Gordon show. None of those injuries prove that Tyrell Williams is going to have a banner day, but FF Today is quite high on him as well, so I wanted to work him in. I've worked him in with Phillip Rivers. That's my stack there. Of course, in this ticket, I did get in David Johnson and Darren Sproles, and I love pairing the high price David Johnson with the bargain Darren Sproles this week. I also got in Kelvin Benjamin because I expect Carolina to be a little bit surprising this week. And I'll get to Rashard Matthews in my next ticket. Matthew, is there anything on this ticket that you want to comment on? I do want to get to yours as quick as we can.
Well, I'm thinking about Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate's targets went up specifically when he became the only tight end left there. As a healthy tight end. The bigger issue is he's really still only getting about 13 to 15% of the targets. So I would say, can you find somebody else that might be a better play? Even though he has been scoring, can you find somebody with a few more targets that might be better?
Let's see. I don't think so. I think I had to settle on him because of the price limit. I liked everybody else on the ticket. I don't know how you feel about Fedorowicz going against a strong defense this week.
No, I agree with what you said. I'm not a lover of Fedorowicz, but he has been getting, about 20%. And Osweiler's been checking down to himself.
You'd feel better about, let me just check the FF Today ranks, see if they've got Fedorowicz ahead of Brate. In fact, they've got Brate slotted 3 slots ahead of Fedorowicz. Okay. So I'm willing to override their decision if you make a case, but
no case specifically for one or the other. Just looking at it overall, if I have a choice of Brate or if I had a choice of Walker, I take Walker, but Walker's a lot more money.
Okay, cool. I hear you. And so for my fourth ticket, I want to focus on the quarterback position. This goes back to my argument about the Green Bay secondary. I think Marcus Mariota is in for a surprisingly good day against Green Bay this week. I've stacked him with Rashard Matthews, who came on with a strong performance in Week 9, 2 TDs, as I recall. I've also worked in my running back tandem of Johnson and Sproles, which we discussed before. And one of the reasons Cameron Brate doesn't get a lot of targets, Matthew, is because it's the Mike Evans show in Tampa. And so, of course, I got him in here. And this ticket, I had to compromise on price at a few places. Obviously, Sproles, Cole Beasley's a compromise on price. Quentin Patton's a compromise on price. But it lets me get Gronk in at tight end, which is, of course, always satisfying to do. Patton was one of my sneaky picks last week, and he absolutely paid off. I expected him to pay off because he was going up against the soft New Orleans defense. This week, I don't expect so much from him. This is a flyer play. So if you've got a better recommendation for a super cheap wideout, I'm open to it, Matthew. Certainly not excited to have Cole Beasley and Quentin Patton in this lineup, but I am excited to have David Johnson, Gronk, and the Mariota Matthews stack.
Well,
not to mention Mike Evans.
Which one, Beasley, Matthews, which one would you rather get rid of?
I'm committed to Matthews here because I'm stacking him with Mariota.
Okay. So if you want to dump Beasley, what is Beasley's value?
Let's see what I can. 5,400.
Okay. Right now, I can tell you where you want to go.
Okay.
Montgomery.
Ty Montgomery.
He should be fitting right in there. He should be under like 50. See where he is. He should be in there.
He's 6,500.
Oh, okay. Let's see. There are some players though that you can play with. Okay.
I like your Tyreek Hill pick so much. Here's what I want to do, Matthew. I want to dump Quentin Patton too and put in Tyreek Hill because I don't have enough Tyreek Hill in my lineups. I'm high on him like you are, but I didn't work him in often enough. So let me get him in, and then let's see who maybe that'll let me get.
That could upgrade your flex player to a major flex player.
Yeah, this is the way to go. Good recommendation. All right, so
we have a 4,800 flex player now instead. Deshaun Jackson, no. Alfred Blue.
It's weird. I never put a tight end in at flex, but actually Delaney Walker's pretty attractive right there.
It's an extremely attractive play. Gronkowski and Walker side by side. You also actually Tim Hightower. I'm not saying he's a great play, but he might be one of those sneaky plays.
Let me see where FF Today has Hightower because I like that. I like your instincts on that one as well.
Denver has been gashed by Melvin Gordon this season, which is a outside the tackle runner.
You know what? That's such an interesting play. I'm going to do it for kicks, if nothing else.
Because you get both. The reason why I like putting a running back in a flex position is that you get both the yardage on a carry, but you also get the touch on the reception. Since you're playing in a point per reception, it's so important to get that double threat.
Okay.
And
yeah.
The reason why your Sproles pick earlier on, being the double threat that he is on the third ticket, actually adds in, and this ticket as well.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you agree with that Sproles pick. And now I want to switch the screen over to you and let you take us through your tickets.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, we on my screen now?
We should be.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I see yours. Okay, let me just check something. Yep, we got my screen. Okay, great. So first and foremost, as I said early on, what I tried to do on all of my tickets this week was to pair the quarterback with a wide receiver or a quarterback with a running back. Last week it was very, very profitable. I actually had two different tickets, one for $7, one for $6, that were winners. And it was two separate quarterback, running back, wide receiver combinations that I used. This week I have Eli Manning and Odell Beckham. I think that the Cincinnati secondary can be beaten, and that Odell should have at least a 1 touchdown and 60-yard reception day on Monday Night Football. Combine that with the fact that I'm trying to find a balance in my offense here, or balance in my ticket, and I took a Thursday night ticket as well. I happen to like that Thursday night ticket, so this ticket is actually running right now, and I didn't have any players, but I wanted to get something in. I have one player here, Matt Jones, which I think is going to be a total bust, and I'm going to need some guidance on where do we replace this player, because we have the ability to go in until he plays to actually swap this guy out. I'll do that in a second. I happen to like the Delaney Walker, and one of the things is we talked about Jordan Matthews last week being a questionable type player. He has total confidence of Carson Wentz. He's getting 9 to 11 targets per game. This guy will get you 7 to 9 points right off the bat just on receptions alone, and then it's yardage and touchdowns. You need somebody who's a steady Eddie in your setup when you try to go reaching for the stars with one great player, like a Julio Jones that I have on this ticket on my on the right side here, as well as balancing it out with what we were talking about at Tyreek Hill. that's going to step in and be a number one wide receiver for Kansas City. So I also, ironically, took your Jay Ajayi pick, saying, okay, he's steady at running back. I'm trying to combine Aaron Rodgers with probably one of the better quarterback, combinations with Randall Cobb.
Okay.
Jordan Howard, which is a sneaky play, I believe, because, again, he's just getting a steady amount of carries, and he's now got a stranglehold on that running back position in Chicago.
Right.
Nelson Aguilar he was my flex player that just fit my roster. It's nothing sexy. It was just a guy I was able to plug in. This is a ticket that I'm hoping will come up and play well, but it's probably one of those lost tickets, unfortunately. And I looked down on my last ticket, which I had decided I was going to play a 1 o'clock only ticket. And that 1 o'clock only ticket, I decided to go on a triple play with Carson Wentz, Jordan Matthews, and Zach Ertz. The reason being that, again, they can be beaten. Atlanta can be beaten, and it's been on the ground that they've been beaten most likely. I do not believe that Philadelphia will be able to establish a running game, and they're going to be playing a lot of catch-up. Even though the number 2 ranked offense of Atlanta is playing against the number 6 ranked overall defense that Philadelphia has.
Okay. I didn't realize how much Ertz's targets jumped up recently and how many catches he's making. I've been a little bit averse to Ertz, but I checked the stats and I'm sold. I like your triple play there.
Well, I put him on 2 different tickets because of the number of targets he's getting and his value in Draftkings. That's what I'm trying to build in the tickets. I don't know if I'm going to hit, but I also have some, long shots here. I
formed my opinion of Ertz back in weeks like 2 through 6 when he was getting 0 to 3 targets per game. But I'm a little surprised. I'm looking in last week. He got 8 targets and he made 8 receptions. And I guess that slipped past me. So I'm on board.
Yeah, he's 17% of the offense.
Cool.
What I would like to do is let's take a look at where Matt Jones fits in on my first ticket here.
Okay.
Okay, and see where we would like to swap him out. We've got $3,800 left. That was my problem with Flex. I'm going, who do I have? And maybe take out Will Fuller because he's questionable. He may not even play. I've already got Hill in there. I'm thinking maybe I plug Hill into this ticket because I think he's going to be a steady play for me. So if
I agree.
I pop out Fuller, take out all the questions about that. I put in Hill here. I plug him in for $3,800. It now gives me $5,500 to now find a flex player.
I want to try to sell you on Rashard Matthews this week. I don't know if he fits your pricing. I suspect he will.
Okay.
His receiving targets in the last 3 weeks are 7, 4, and 10. And again, this goes back to that cornerback and safety for Green Bay, likely both to be missing. So there's my pitch.
There's
Rashard Matthews.
So now you just saved me $1,300 on a ticket where I have Eli Manning and Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I'm not excited about Bernard.
Okay, well, let's knock out Bernard. I think Bernard is going to get more touches in that game because I think Cincinnati's going to have to play from behind.
Right.
And that's why I plugged him in. That was my thought behind that.
I get it. It could work out that way. I'm just not stoked about him.
Well, I was looking for the double threat.
Right. No, it makes sense.
I don't like the Christine Michael play at all. I think he's not going to play. I think Tom Rawls is going to come back and take over that. I don't believe Doug Martin's going to come back and play and be effective. Carlos Hyde is still questionable. Mark Ingram,
yeah,
not a great play. Gurley.
Yeah, FF Today has Darren Sproles ranked ahead of Mark Ingram, just FYI. So I'm with you.
Right. And I'm looking at these things, and I'm looking, okay, who's really attractive to me? At this point, the only one that is really attractive is LeGarrette Blount, maybe. I could go down to Sproles, which actually could be attractive. Plug that in at least this moment, but it leaves me $1,600.
Yeah, and what's weird is you got all that money, and I like all your players. I like Manning stacked with Beckham, no problem. I like Sproles. I love Johnson. I like Hill. I like Matthews. I like Walker. And I like the other Matthews. That's crazy. I can't believe you have that much money left over, and I like every single player on that ticket.
It's going to be an effective ticket. You know that Johnson's going to get probably at least 2 touchdowns. He's also going to get, it'll either be one in the air, one on the ground, and he'll rack up at least 120 yards.
Okay, and I know this is weird, and I've never left, I don't think I've ever left more than $1,000 on a ticket. But last week we had a similar discussion on my ticket where I went heavy 49ers, my winning ticket, Kaepernick and Quentin Patton. I had so much money left over. At the end, we were like, well, what am I going to do with this money? And we reviewed the players, and I said, just leave it. And it turned out that the ticket that had the most money left over of my 4 tickets was the one that won. So I'm honestly thinking, man, I want to tell you to say, screw it. Leave the $1,600 and just move on, or maybe upgrade your defense if you feel.
That's what I was thinking. I could use $1,200 on the Cardinals defense.
Oh, I love that, man. I absolutely love that idea. I think that's a great ticket.
Since I have the ability, yeah, I think this works.
Okay, man, we are running out of time, so maybe pick 1 or 2 other tickets we can hit quickly because I know you've got a place to be.
Yep, not a problem. With regards to the tickets, I want to go back to the Philadelphia-Atlanta game. You know, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones have really combined for some incredible numbers. I want to figure out a way to take advantage of this ticket here. Okay, and I want to see if there's anything that I need to really tweak with this combination. I think Chris Ivory against Houston might be a sneaky play with $3,400. It allowed me to get a running back in that's probably going to get me about 12 to 15 points.
Yes, and a lot of people suspect that Chris Ivory is about to emerge as the running threat in Jacksonville. So I absolutely, it's a bit of a risk because he hasn't entirely solidified himself at that position, but the coaching staff has seen enough. They're behind him. I think we could see some surprising things from Ivory. I'm on board.
My question is, what about Julius Thomas? Since he's left Denver, he's been injured, he's been hurt. Nothing's been happening right for him. But for $2,900, he fits in my roster this week, and I'm just thinking, do I go someplace else or not? He's only getting about 10% of the offense.
Huh. Well, you've got a cheap defense there that I like. I like the Rams versus the Jets, inept offense. I don't see where you're going to save money. I mean, the thing is, if you want to upgrade Thomas, you're going to have to spend more money. And the cheapest – go ahead.
Richard Rodgers is a sneaky play at tight end at $2,800.
Sure. Let me see where he is on the FF Today ranks. Not even a tight end 2 on FF Today. He is very near the bottom of the list. Sneaky. So, yeah, he could come in, but FF Today does not expect much from him.
Does not expect much from him. But let me just check one other thing. Rodgers has been getting, whoa. Okay. One of the things is he had 24% of the targets in the last game.
Sure. That's a promising stat.
With that in mind, he also had a touchdown.
Right, and I guess what a lot of people think of Tennessee as a bad team because they've been bad for so long, but that offense is waking up. And I think given the problems that the the Packers are going to have in the secondary, this could turn into a much higher scoring affair than people are thinking. So, sure.
I believe so too, and I don't trust Thomas in that ticket. That's where I'm going to swap that one out. Again, this is just a question of who's going to give me the most upside. Because the last thing I want to close on is last week, my biggest winning ticket could have been even bigger. I had one selection that was my flex player that I put in because of the amount of money that I could put in, and Derrick Henry left me wanting. He left me a big fat 0 after the first quarter when he went out with the injury.
Right, I want to give you props for that, man. If you got a player in a tournament ticket that puts up a 0 and you still end up in the money, it means you picked some very good other players. So well done.
On that note, I'm closing with my tickets that I have here. I'm hoping that my triple play with the Eagles goes well, but not too well as a Giants fan.
All right. Well, thank you, Matthew. Thanks for your analysis this week and for helping me improve my tickets. And congrats on your wins in Week 9. So for Next Man Up and for Matthew Schiff, this is Mike Davis signing off.